Today's shout-out is for Zuldinga. Voja, Jaws of the Conclave, versus Tatyova, Atraxa, and Balmor. 3 blue players is excellent. We've got an elf there, and lands, not a whole lot else though. I'm going to risk a mulligan there, because I'm not very excited by that hand. Okay, that's looking better. And we are on the play. Draw into Rhythm of the Wild, so get down Besage in its land form. Go for Jiraga Tree Speaker, because it's going to tap for 2 mana. Alright, excellent, and we've already had a player scoop on us. Awesome. And just some blue mana for our opponents. We see a Hunter's Insight, so let's go for Plateau. We can level up the Jiraga Tree Speaker. Do we need the additional mana from Mana Crypt? Yeah, we could actually go for Rhythm of the Wild here, couldn't we? So, get down the Crypt, level up the Tree Speaker. So now she can tap down for mana, and we've got enough for a Mana Dork. Should have gone for Rhythm of the Wild first, actually. Could have had a plus counter on that, but I don't think it really matters. Ral's Reinforcements is a sorcery, makes a couple of elemental tokens. Okay, seeing the Great Henge now, so it would be a good idea to get the commander going, I think. And we know it can't be countered thanks to Rhythm of the Wild. Oh, actually, we don't have the mana for it at the moment, do we? Yeah, that's a shame. So, I think we're just going for the Maskwood Nexus then. This way we can hold up the Stroke of Midnight, and failing that, we can tap down the Maskwood Nexus to make a wolf and an elf. But yeah, really would have loved to have got our commander down there. It's just the mana, as much as we have, is a little bit janky with regards to colours at the moment. And there is the first commander of the game, Balmor, Battle Mage Captain, playing a sorcery into that straight away. And that is going to give the Balmor haste, as well as a +1 buff to power. And we'll see if they're coming at us. I may well punish them for doing that. Yeah, they are spreading the damage. Do we just take 2 commander? It's probably worth keeping hold of Stroke of Midnight. We'll see what Atraxa does. And if he does anything scary, we can always Stroke of Midnight that. We're only taking 2 commander at the moment, and we can blow up the commander at the end of Atraxa's turn if we want. And we see a Charcoal Diamond from Atraxa, just playing some slow tapped mana here. So I think we'd prefer to go for the token. Just a 2-2 unfortunately, and we may well have to go for Hunter's Insight onto that to draw a couple of cards, which would be annoying, but we do need to be looking at getting our commander into play before the Mana Crypt gets blown up or the board gets wiped. We'll lose a hell of a lot of mana. Or we could just get into Overgrown Farmland, that's good, so throw that into play. And let's get down our commander here. And we'll have the Voja enter with haste, of course, because we do need to swing in order to trigger it. And we can still go for the Hunter's Insight here, so that's really good. So we'll take our Wolf and the Voja into the left, repay our opponent in kind here. And Voja triggers, so it's X plus counters on each creature, which is 4 here. And then we draw 4 cards as well, because don't forget, all our creatures are every creature type. So we draw into Howl of the Night pack, Priest of Titania, Teferi's Protection, and a land. Don't have the white mana, unfortunately. Yeah, do we just go for making another token? I don't think we really need the Hunter's Insight at this point, probably best saving it. Or I suppose we could try and get into... Yeah, even if we go after Clever Concealment, yeah, we could try and draw into that, because we could cast it 2 mana here, and then Convoke twice. Yeah, let's go for the Hunter's Insight. Means we could try and get in some better lands as well. So our Voja is currently a 9-9, and it is going to draw us that many cards. Alright, not drawing into the Clever Concealment, but we are going to be able to craft a nice hand here. Alright, had to discard some decent cards there. Howl of the Night pack's just going to be too slow, although Priest of Titania coming in with haste could make a difference there. All will be 1. Again, the mana's a little bit clunky here. We've got a lot of mana dorks available to us, but they all make green mana. There is a Frantic Search for the Izzet player. Got rid of a board wipe against my better judgment as well, because I'm hoping that we'll be able to make use of this extra combat. Just need to be careful of when we cast the extra combat, because yeah, they can be a bit janky with when you play them. Some are in the first main, some are in the second, some are during combat. Anyway, it's a Seize the Spoils after that, and discarded to the Frantic Search was a Baral and Kari Zev. And getting massive buffs here. There's a Krenko's command as well, so The Balmor is currently a 4-3 and some 4-1 tramplers as well. Deciding to hold back the Goblin tokens as blockers, and yeah, all this coming in at us now as you would expect. So we'll just block one of the tokens. A Swords to Plowshares now going on to the Voja, and they can afford the Ward 3 here, so they're going to have to pay that if they want to remove the commander. And looks like they are doing that. We'll get a nice chunk of life at least, because we have lost quite a few flips to the Mana Crypt. So we go back up to 33 with that. Lose the flip to the Crypt again. And we do manage to get into a Windswept Heath, that's good. So yeah, another red source is probably going to be a good idea. And then, is it just our commander again here? Is it worth going for the Great Henge? Probably worth getting that down. It only costs us 3 mana and it does tap for 2. Then we can go Priest of Titania. That will come down with haste on the Rhythm of the Wild, and it'll get a plus counter and a card draw from the Great Henge. And we get another land is good, so let's get this commander in with haste. And again, this will be a plus counter and another card draw thanks to the Henge. And I think it's a good idea to just hold up the Teferi's Protection at this point. Draw into a Sylvan Library. And then if we don't need to go for Teferi's Protection, we've got the Windswift Slice. It should make us a bunch of elves, which will count as wolves with the current board state. So again, we'll concentrate on the Balmor. And again, it'll be a bunch of plus counters and a bunch of card draw. So immediately, Voja jumping up to an 11-11. Pretty strong commander this, with a Maskwood Nexus in play apparently. Might be an idea to run your Reliquary Towers in this deck. So the Goblin chumps the other 11-11. And managed to get our opponent to only 20 commander damage, unfortunately. Goblin Electromancer is going to make the instants and sorceries cost 1 less over there. And just hitting us for 1 commander at this point. 2 cards in hand, and yeah, didn't want to cast any more instants and sorceries, so maybe has a counter spell. Alright, and either Atraxa is thinking of what to do here, or he's gone AFK. This has been a pretty mismatched game. Obviously we had this player scoop on turn 0, and this is a very, very casual player by the looks of it. Balmor looked fairly capable, but has emptied his hand really quickly, unfortunately. In all those instants and sorceries, there wasn't a single piece of removal. I mean, a board wipe to get rid of the dorks and a piece of spot removal on the Crypt, and we wouldn't have been able to do anywhere near as much as we've done here. So apologies to my opponents that the game was mismatched. You obviously never know who you're going to go up against on Magic Online. I think we'll get another game going after this in a minute, because I'm assuming that this guy's going to time out. Alright, yeah, so deciding to time out completely during the upkeep, so we'll go for the Windswift Slice here. Voja can point it at the Goblin Electromancer, and this is going to deal a nice chunk of damage to that, get it out of the way, and dump a whole bunch of elves into play, which are also wolves of course. And all we're really going to do is turn in sideways here a Masked Vandal, a means of removal, which is one reason to not have an unlimited hand size, I suppose, so you can dump creatures in and exile them with the Masked Vandal. Anyway, turning sideways with everything except the dorks. Voja triggers and dumps a hell of a lot of plus counters on and draws us a whole heap of cards. 51 cards left in the deck. And we've now got the Waves of Aggression, which we could cast a few times, as well as the Resurgence, which we saw before. So big thank you to my opponent for playing that out. I appreciate that that was lopsided, but we'll get another game going and see how that one goes. Voja versus Duskana, Vial Smasher and Kraum, and Zur the Enchanter. Something tells me we're up against a couple of more powerful players now, and yeah, that's not the best, but it's a decent amount of mana, so we'll keep it. Turn 1 Sol Ring from the partner player into Mana Vault. Alright, we've got 2 of the same cards here, or will be 1 along with Shalai and Halar. Get out the tap land, because it might be that I go for the Leaf Crowned Visionary first. Although I'm tempted to go Rex Sage onto this straight away now. And now an Urza's Saga along with Swiftfoot Boots. So manages to get down a piece of red mana into Kraum on turn 2. And hits the Zur player in the red zone straight away. Alright, see if we get into a land here. We get into a Sol Ring of our own. Alright, I'm going to go for the Leaf Crown Visionary, give my opponent another turn with the Sol Ring against my better judgment, because we want to be drawing into lands that we can make colours with. And there's nothing to stop us going Sol Ring into the Rex Sage and draw a card next turn. A tap land for the Zur in the form of Barren Moor. And deciding to cycle a Shark Typhoon just for 2, so drawing a card with that. Slaughter Pact going, that's pretty hard, going on to the Leaf Crown Visionary. Got down the Vial Smasher first, so he's going to have to tap out next turn into the Slaughter Pact, assuming that we actually get to land the Reclamation Sage. And then the 4/4 goes into the left again. Alright, well, we're all rocking Sol Rings apparently. Terax, friend of the channel, patron of the channel, gets one down for Duskana and casts a Gearbane Orangutan. So that's a 2/2 with reach. When it enters, it can destroy an artifact. Alright, so that's going on the Sol Ring, you would assume. Means we don't have to cast the Reclamation Sage yet. Wow, he's got a Force of Will. Our opponent's trying pretty hard here. Yeah, the last game, I don't like pointing it out because I say it in pretty much every video, but I asked for casual, no CEDH. Now, I'm assuming this isn't CEDH, I don't know if it is or not. But yeah, that's why I say that in the description, because whilst we can get lopsided games like we did in the previous one, me saying casual in the description avoids lopsided games in the other direction, so an even more powerful deck than the one that we ended up running in the previous games. So yeah, I mean, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with what you do, really. We either end up against really, really powerful decks that err on the side of CEDH, or we end up against the weaker decks that we end up stomping all over because we're more high power. So yeah, it's a tough call, really. Looks like we are going after that Reclamation Sage though, so we will go Sol Ring and into a tap land with the Verdant Catacombs, I think, to better fix our mana. Go for the Rex Sage, and Kraum will draw our opponent a card. And obviously we're still blowing up the Sol Ring against this very powerful player, so they'll have to tap out next turn into the Slaughter Pact that they decided to go after. As a Saga is going to be sacrificed here, doesn't look like he's making a token on the way out. And are we going to see the 4th and final Sol Ring here? Tapping it for mana in response to the sacrifice. Went after the Sol Ring with the Urza's Saga as we assumed he was going to. So Zur the Enchanter is going to enter with a Swiftfoot Boots in play, and decides to swing in over at the partner player, grabs a free Grasp of Fate, which goes after Kraum, our Sol Ring, and Terax's Sol Ring as well. And Kraum does make it back into the command zone from exile. So at the beginning of Vial Smasher's turn, the Slaughter Pact, he'll have to pay 3 for that or lose the game. And he's quite a ways away from getting Kraum back online now, takes a damage to the Mana Vault as well. A Jeweled Amulet into the Vial Smasher, and putting a charge counter on that, got a Mana Confluence into play there. And then the Vial Smasher turns in towards the Zur the Enchanter, so the two very powerful decks are going in towards each other. Another 2/2 in the form of Denetha, New Benalia's Light, Vigilance, Trample and Lifelink. And let's see here, we've got Bramblewood Paragon, which is going to give things Trample once they all get plus counters on them. I think we're just going to have to try and get down the Voja. Don't have haste this time, unfortunately, so going to have to try and have that survive an entire turn cycle. We'll go in at the Zur player as well. Swinging in with Zur, and this time is Astral Slide, so whenever a player cycles a card, you can exile a creature and return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Propaganda, going to make it more difficult to swing in over there. And it's a Mox Diamond now for the partner player, discarding a City of Brass, followed by a Dockside Extortionist, making 5 treasure tokens. Only 1 card left in hand, and decides to use all that mana to get down the Kraum again. So swinging in towards Zur and paying the 2 mana for the Propaganda. Looks like Zur has something in response. That is cycling a Wandering Death, so going to draw a card and can flicker this thing out of combat. Sovereign Okinaka How. And don't forget, with this commander, I will run this commander at some point, I think. It's only the base power and toughness that it cares about, so the 2/2s can be buffed. So it does make sense to have this in the deck, even though it's not a 2/2. Alright, there is an Incubation Druid, so yeah, we're struggling on mana, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it would be good to get some elves going, so let's go for the Elvish War Master. Yeah, it's annoying that the propaganda's here, but we do want to be drawing some cards and getting some plus counters on things. Yeah, we'll go Incubation Druid as well, just so that we can better fix our mana. Draw the Kraum a card for casting the second spell of the turn. And the Incubation Druid is going to get a plus counter on it here, meaning that it will get some more mana, or produce some more mana. So it produces 3 instead of 1. And yeah, missing a land here isn't good, otherwise I would swing in over there. So we'll just go straight down the middle, trigger the Voja, nowhere near as good as it was in the previous game, thanks to not having a bunch of wolves in play, but we do draw a card, that is Rootbound Crag, so we can at least make a land this turn, and we get 4 plus counters thanks to controlling 4 elves. So just jumping with the Dockside is fine, we do have Trample. And do we just completely play into a board wipe here? I don't think Terrax is going to play a board wipe. I don't think Zer's going to play one either. Kraum and Vial Smasher may play one if he draws into it, but is he going to draw into it is the question. And let's go for the Bramblewood Paragon. We're showing our hand that we've got Trample and we're going to be difficult to block, but yeah, I'm fine with it. Muldrifter, going to draw a couple more cards for the Zer. And then doing something in response to the Evoke trigger. Alright, going for cycling the Astral Drift, which means the Astral Slide can flicker it and keep the Muldrifter in play. That's what they're doing with their mana this turn, I'm fine with it. And when they cycle this, they get to flicker something as well, apparently. So, going after the Elvish War Master. Alright, and a Deflecting Swat is going to do something about that, so the CEDH cards continue from this player. Was trying to point that at the Zer then, I think, with the Deflecting Swat. Would have been an idea to go for the Reclamation Sage so that I could blow up either Astral Slide or the Propaganda. Although, could he target the Zer with that? And swinging in towards Duskana with the Commander this time. So we'll see what fresh hell our opponent's deciding to search up. It is a Pariah. All damage that will be dealt to you is dealt to this creature instead. Can we get rid of a Pariah or not? Because I was looking to actually get down both Shalai and All Will Be One this turn, which means we might have actually been able to get rid of this player. Holding up a single mana as well, which could be counter magic. Erebos, God of the Dead for the Vial Smasher and Kraum now. And deciding to put a counter on the amulet again. And now the Kraum swings in towards us because he's tapped out, can't go in towards this player with the Propaganda. It's just Duskana, no one can get rid of the Pariah unfortunately. I did ask in the chat, because I'm looking to try and get rid of this player. Maybe we can do it ourselves next turn if we get a lucky draw here. So Denetha and the Sovereign Okineka How are going to turn in at the middle player here. And that puts a buff on this from the Commander and some plus counters, so that is now an 8-8. So that player goes down to 10. And let's see what we draw here. A Howling Moon is a means of more wolf tokens, which means we can draw more cards. I think we're going to have to try and lose the Voja this turn though, because if we can deal a bunch of damage to this player by pointing these types of effects at him, it'll kill off the Commander and take the Pariah down with it. So let's make use of the triple mana from the Incubation Druid, and we'll try and All Will Be One. At least get to see the interactions here, even if they're not doing what we wish they would be doing. Play Shalai and Halar as well, drawing Kraum a card. And an Elf Warrior did enter with the Elvish War Master there. Saw a plus counter from the Bramblewood Paragon because it is a warrior, so now we get to ping something. We'll just do it to Terrax at the moment. I'm going to spread the damage between these two anyway. So we'll go through to combat. It can be Voja down the middle, and the Elvish War Master down the middle to go wide, and then the rest can go in at Terrax. And we'll see a card draw on Voja, because we've only got one wolf in play at the moment, I think, and then a whole heap of plus counters. So All Will Be One is going to be pointed here. Maybe we can still get rid of this player? Yeah, I don't know. We'll just point it all over here and see what happens. Obviously some of the damage will be negated by Voja, but as soon as that goes down, the remaining damage might be enough to get rid of our opponent. I haven't actually worked it out. Alright, so just pointed everything at the Zer player, and that's 7 damage on the first resolution of Shalai and Halar, and then another 7 is 14, and then the next resolution gets rid of the Pariah and the Voja. Voja can go back into the command zone, and then the rest can resolve, and should be seeing the back of the Xur the Enchanter player here. Yeah, I thought it was going to work like that. I just wasn't entirely sure. I was waiting for something to go wrong, like I've misunderstood something. So I should have pointed more damage at these players and could have had them out of the game here. But all I was really focusing on there was getting these player out of the game. So we'll see if we can get these lot on combat damage now. I think I'm going wide on this player anyway. We do have trample on all of our big creatures, don't forget, thanks to the Bramblewood Paragon. So even though Voja went down there, we've got a 13-12 going through a 2-3. And ganging up on the Bramblewood Paragon, as I assumed our opponent would, we will put the commander in front and force them to play that again. And there we go, the lifelink keeping our opponent in it there. And down goes this player. So Terrax at 6, he needs to do something about our board this turn really. And yeah, apparently all will be one is really good in this deck, as is Shalai and Halar. Get them both down together and you can do some pretty incredible things apparently. Drawing a card with Bonder's Enclave doesn't bode well, doesn't have double white for any kind of Wrath of God effect, anything like that. Could get a Blasphemous Act, although yeah, we just about have our creatures go down to Blasphemous Act, so not quite out of range of that yet. So Terrax just deciding to scoop it up there, has Armory Automaton, Chishiro, that's one that you don't see enough of. That is the Boros Reclamation Sage, a really good one. Hexgold, Hoverwings, and the Eternal Wanderer, like I said, was missing out on double white, unfortunately. Well, I didn't think we were going to win that game, but apparently Voja is a pretty damn good commander, so hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'll likely be playing this one again, because I imagine you'll all want to see more of it after these games. Big thank you to Terrax and all the other patrons as well, and I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.